right. Happy Monday and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for October 28th, 2024, the 302nd day of the year, the final Monday of the month, and National First Responders Day, honoring those who put their lives on the line every day for the safety and benefit of others. Firefighters, EMS workers, police officers, 911 dispatchers, and others. If that is you, a big kudos to you and be safe. Today is also National Chocolate Day, so celebrate as you will. As we kick off the new week, the final week of election season, I hope you had a terrific and safe weekend. And what a weekend it was, right? Starting with the release of the nearly 3-hour Donald Trump interview with Joe Rogan, the vice president's rally in Houston on Friday night, then Israel's retaliatory strikes on Iran, more campaign stops and rallies by both former President Trump and Vice President Harris, giving the media plenty to cover, dissect, and criticize all weekend long and all day today. With the grand finale of the incredible weekend, no doubt, being the Republican Trump rally at Madison Square Garden, in the heart of deep blue New York City.
And I just want to say a very big hello to a special place, New York, and to an incredible arena, Madison Square Garden. Incredible. And then we have all of the people that could fill it up 10 times. You take a look at outside what's going on all the way down to the river, the beautiful, beautiful Hudson River. They're outside watching this now at levels that nobody's ever seen before. They've never had it. And I want to thank Jim Dolan. He's been incredible. He's been just incredible. The job they've done. Thank you. But I'm thrilled to be back in the city I love, and thousands of proud, hard-working American patriots. You're with me. We're all together. We've always been together. And I'd like to begin by asking a very simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote in this election, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country. And I will bring back the American dream. We need the American dream to come back home. Our country will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. This election is a choice between whether we will have 4 more years of gross incompetence and failure, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country.
Hopefully you got to watch it on Newsmax, or at least some of it. Just for reference, Trump mentioned there Jim Dolan. He's the CEO of the Madison Square Garden Corporation. He also mentioned the crowd outside. If you didn't get to see the rally on Newsmax because, it was the weekend and you were out having fun, doing things, or taking care of chores, you've probably seen it on social media. It was like the New York Rangers or New York Knicks were playing in a championship game inside the arena, when they show the crowds cheering outside the arena, right? Thousands of people. And I'm sure you've seen the Kamala Harris commercials where Trump is going to raise your taxes and cut your Social Security.
I will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses, and we will have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. And I'm announcing a new policy today that I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of a parent or a loved one. It's about time that they were recognized, right? They add so much to our country and are never spoken of, ever, 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 but they're going to be spoken of now. Thank you all very much. I'll also make interest on car loans fully tax deductible, but only for cars made in America.
So there you go. And a lot of what Trump spoke about right there is being spoken about today among pundits and so-called financial experts and economists. Newsmax hosts Carl Higbee and Lydia Serrani were at the rally and spoke with Don Jr. I'll get to that in a moment. And First Lady Melania Trump made an appearance.
And now, please welcome our next Commander-in-Chief, my husband, President Donald J. Trump.
As you can hear, that pretty much brought the House down. And before that, there were speeches from Vivek Ramaswamy, Robert Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, Hulk Hogan, of course, blew the roof off the place, Tucker Carlson, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, and others. I'll play some of that in a bit. And while this was happening in New York, Vice President Harris was in Philadelphia with an event.
We have the ability to turn the page on that same old tired playbook because we are exhausted with it.
Well, she obviously listened to the Newsmax Daily back on Friday when I said, why doesn't she use the turn the page thing anymore? Only I said she wasn't using it anymore because it wasn't working, because people were like, yeah, turn the page, back to Trump. And since this was a church rally,
weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
Pastor Harris addressing the congregation in Philadelphia yesterday. As I mentioned, Newsmax spoke with Donald Trump Jr. at Madison Square Garden last night.
Well, let's bring in EVP of the Trump Organization, Donald Trump Jr. Don, your father's going to take the stage. Thousands of people outside. We knew this was going to be big. Did we know it was going to be this big?
I don't think anyone could have even imagined it was this big. I mean, certainly, as someone who's done this now 3 times around, you wouldn't have even thought about this in 16 or 20. I mean, the streets of Manhattan, from Trump Tower to Madison Square Garden, were just packed. Outside was a zoo. Inside, I can't even, it's just incredible. Everyone gets it. The movement is so real. People are sick of what's going on. They've watched our country fail for 4 years, Carl, and they've had enough.
We're here in New York City. I'm a native New Yorker, as are you. To be outside, see MAGA, see all the love for your dad, what goes through your mind? I'm seeing you. You're tearing up.
I'm not tearing up.
Yes, he is.
I'm
yes,
not.
he
It's
is.
the makeup.
He
No,
is.
I'm not. You know what? As a political refugee, formerly of the People's Republic of New York to the state of Florida, it's actually great to be able to come home and see that level of love. I mean, it was amazing. And again, it's different now. It's not just the guy in the red MAGA hat. It's every demographic, every walk of life, every race, gender, religion. I mean, they're coming up. They understand their country is failing them, and their government has failed them. They're watching Ukraine get money, but we can't take care of Americans that are struggling. Everyone feels that the incompetence by the Harris-Biden administration is so palpable that everyone's revolting against it. They just want someone who's going to fix things, and they know my father can do that.
What goes through your mind when you got Hillary Clinton, people like that, trying to call your dad a fascist and Hitler? How disgraceful is that? What is that?
It's so ridiculous. I mean, you know, especially coming from them. They're the ones that are lying. They're the ones pushing misinformation. They're the ones trying to jail their political opponents. I mean, frankly, the Democrat Party today is running the fascist playbook. So it's typical Democrat projection where they accuse others of doing the things that they're actually doing themselves. But it's also disgusting when you really think about what it means. They've been encouraging the violence against my father, against our family. I've had the threats from Iran and myself, not just my father, multiple assassination attempts. I don't know what to make of it other than they're sick people, or perhaps they view that as their only chance of actually winning. I don't know. It's bad.
Well, we just saw Rudy Giuliani, who is essentially the poster child for literally a fascist movement. I mean, they have buried this guy in legal fees. They've made the process become the punishment. And you know, your father is the one man who can actually stand in between that.
Well, 100%. I mean, they did it to my family, too, right? If they couldn't impeach him twice, they tried to bankrupt him. If they couldn't bankrupt him, they tried to take away his businesses. If they couldn't do that, they tried to jail him for 750 years. You know, my father's a young and vibrant man, but 750 years seems like a long time for creating jobs, for keeping us out of wars, for signing peace deals in the Middle East. You know, not exactly someone that probably should go to jail for these things, but that's their playbook. There's nothing they won't do. The American people understand that the Democrats only care about power, and there's nothing they will not do to maintain that level of power.
You ever say to your dad, Dad, I love you too much. I love you too much that you keep putting yourself in danger out there. You're putting your life in danger, your entire family, and you're doing it for this country to try to bring it back from the brink of no return. But do you ever just say, you know what, I can't, I just want to golf, I can't do this anymore? Does that thought ever run through your mind?
Never, ever had that thought. Honestly, you know, initially when we started this out, it was, you know, I just believed in it. Now I see what's going on. My resolve is just so much stronger. We have no choice. I got 5 young kids. I need to leave them a country they recognize. If I didn't go all in, if my family didn't go all in 100% of the way to do that, what's the purpose of everything we believe in? Now, we're all in, and we're never going to quit fighting.
Well, that's the thing, too, is those who have the ability have the responsibility. You know, Uncle Ben from, obviously, Spider-Man. But this is such a big movement that, you know, to be honest, I mean, like you said, you have 5 kids. There are generations of Trumps in the waiting for this, okay? And I think the biggest thing here is this movement doesn't end in 4 years, does it?
No. I mean, that's a big part of sort of what I focused on, and, you know, bringing in a guy like a J.D. Vance who's not just going to succumb back to the usual establishment nonsense, you know, that we see from so many of the sort of weak Washington swamp Republicans. Like, we don't need that. That's failed our country almost as badly as Democrat policies have. We can't have that. So we need a bench. We need a generation of people who are willing to put America first, who have the ability to actually fight for it, who have the resolve and the will to actually fight for these things, who won't just get steamrolled by Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump Jr. live from Madison Square Garden on Newsmax with Carl Higbie and Lydia Serrani, who spoke about immigration and a really interesting point that I don't think anyone has ever really pointed out before about Donald Trump came up in this conversation.
I'm a first-generation American. I didn't speak English until I was 5, 6 years old. Clearly, I don't have a problem with that now. President Trump, he loves immigrants. That's what upsets me. Whenever I hear this kind of talk, he actually loves immigrants. He wants to make the...
2 out of 3 of his wives are immigrants.
I was going to say, my mom was an immigrant, Barron's mom's an immigrant.
So talk to me about what he's going to do to secure our border, to get this country back under control. We can't have this invasion continue.
He's going to finish what he started, but this time it's going to be with a mandate. The American people see it. They understand what's going on. When you think about an administration that literally let in 600,000 criminals by their own data, they're releasing it. So it's probably worse. 13,000 murderers. They know it's a murderer, and they still let him into the country. 16,000 sex offenders and rapists. Imagine knowing that and allowing it to happen.
Don Jr. with Lydia Serrani and Carl Higbie. With all the anti-immigration talk about Trump and the fear-mongering, yeah, his first wife and his current wife are both immigrants. Ivana Trump, Don Jr.'s mother, who you may recall just passed away several months ago. As Lydia said, it was emotional for Don Jr. and definitely emotional for his father. Being native New Yorkers, having done so much for the city, having built so many buildings there, Tucker Carlson really did a great job of explaining this and the current state of affairs in his speech.
Thank you! I saw the Grateful Dead in this arena in 1987. I was seated right there. How weird. It's such an honor to be here, and it's wild. Just another day following Bobby Kennedy Jr. at a Donald Trump rally in Madison Square Garden. I mean, what? That's totally normal. Liz Cheney's out there with Kamala Harris. And there's Bobby Kennedy calling to protect women's sports at a Trump rally. It's a realignment. It's unbelievable, and the fact that it's here is even sweeter. Imagine if you're, and just pause for one moment, imagine you're Donald Trump, you're from New York City, you become famous in New York City, you make your fortune in New York City, and all of a sudden the leadership of New York City decides they're going to destroy you because they don't like your politics. And so they, yeah, boo. Imagine if that were you, though. And they try and take everything that you have, they try and put you in prison, they try and put your children in prison. If that happened to you, how often do you think you'd be going back to New York City? How about never? And yet he's here. It's like getting thrown out of a bar. And you think to yourself, well, you know, all my friends are in the bar. And you approach the door and there's the bouncer like, you're not allowed in here. But from behind the bouncer, you hear the cheers of your friend, come on in! And the bouncer hangs his head in shame. Ugh. He's embarrassed that he's working for the man trying to keep the most popular person out of the bar. And that's Donald Trump back in the city that produced him with no embarrassment at all in a room full of his friends. The stones that takes, the bravery that takes is incredible. Donald Trump's going to win. He's going to win. I know that that's true. Why is Donald Trump going to win? The people he's about to defeat have no idea. And they're panicked. They have no idea why people like Donald Trump. And their first theory was, well, Donald Trump is evil, so half the country's evil also. And that's one of the reasons they spent the last 4 years trying to destroy the country, because they're mad at its voters for liking Donald Trump. How much easier would it have been just to pause for 20 minutes and ask yourself honestly in some silent place, why do people like Donald Trump? And if they had been honest enough to ask themselves that question, they would have come up with the two main reasons, and here's what they are. The first reason that people like Donald Trump is because he likes them. That's why. And it's real. Affection is something you can't fake. I don't care how many times Kamala Harris would tell me she loves me, I don't believe her. I saw her kiss her husband with a mask on. A mask on. That's her version of love. It's fake. It's not real. They spent 10 years telling you Trump is a hater. Do you feel that on him? No, you don't. Because it's not there. I've spent a lot of time with Trump. And there's not one moment I've ever been with him off camera where he's spending his time grousing about people he hates. Ever. He's talking about the people and the country he loves in his private time. Trust me. And people know, in a country that has been taken over by a leadership class that actually despises them and their values and their history and their culture and their customs, really hates them to the point that it's trying to replace them, they know someone who actually has affection for them, and that's Donald Trump. And it's requited. It's requited. They know. When he goes to McDonald's and serves fries, like, he's not faking that at all. That's why that worked. Democratic media consultants are like, how is that working? Because it's real. That's why.
That is Tucker Carlson. And if you think about what he was saying there, especially in the beginning, about Donald Trump coming back to New York, coming home, right? It's really true. How can you not feel like the city that you love, the city he helped build, he employed tens of thousands of people, how can you not feel like it turned on you, right? And Tucker also mentioned that he was speaking after Robert Kennedy Jr. Here's what Kennedy had to say.
Thank you. A lot of people ask me why I left the Democratic Party. And I say, I don't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. This is not the party anymore of Martin Luther King, of Robert Kennedy, of John Kennedy. That was the party of peace. It was the party of constitutional rights, of civil rights, of freedom of speech. It was the party that wanted to protect and nurture the middle class. It was the party that stood up to censorship, to surveillance, that stood up to the CIA, the military-industrial complex. And it was the party that wanted to protect public health and women's sports. My uncle, Ted Kennedy, wrote Title IX, which protected women's sports in college. It was the party that believed in voting rights and fought for the right of every American to vote for the person of their choice. Today's Democratic Party is the party of war. It's the party of the CIA. You had Kamala Harris giving a speech at the Democratic Convention that was written by neocons. It was belligerent, pugnacious. It talked about the domination of the world by the United States through our weapons of war. It's the party today that wants to divide Americans. It's the party that is dismantling women's sports by letting men play women's sports.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. live from Madison Square Garden on Newsmax. Remember when NBC's Chuck Todd told Andrea Mitchell people are not going to want to hear Kennedy speak? Well, you have to give Kennedy a lot of credit. And people seem to be liking a lot of what he has to say. With more on the Trump rally, the campaign, and Kamala's campaign, we go to Wake Up America with Charlotte McBride.
From 2024 National Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Karoline, great to see you. So I know that you are running on little to no sleep as you were there last night. I want to first ask you about Melania and her surprise appearance. We don't often see her on the campaign trail, but this is a huge moment last night.
Last night was an epic night. There is nothing more iconic in New York City than Donald Trump in Madison Square Garden. And Mrs. Trump's appearance on the stage, surprise appearance, I may add, was phenomenal. She's classy, she's gracious, she's beautiful. And I loved what she said about New York, how it's a city of hopes and dreams. And she said people run from office building to office building in this city in search of success. And that success is deteriorating under Democrat policies because of the crime we see, the weak on crime, the defund the police policies, the sanctuary city policies, which, by the way, President Trump announced last night he's going to outlaw sanctuary cities when he's commander in chief again. I loved her message, and the president brought it home last night talking about our closing pitch to the American people. Kamala Harris broke the border. She broke the economy. She broke our standing on the world stage. Only President Trump can fix it.
And what a simple but effective message that was, that she has broken everything and I will be here to fix it. That was the message that he hammered home last night in front of 20,000 got to be inside. And then we know there was about 75,000 outside on the streets that could not fit in. And those people overflowed into bars. These are bars in deep blue New York City filled with people there to support Trump. I never thought I would see the day. What does this say about the momentum that he has with just 8 days out?
It speaks to the movement that President Trump is building. It's more than a campaign. It's the greatest political movement this country has ever seen. And it's broad and it's diverse and it's Americans of all backgrounds, race, religion, and creed who want the same things: prosperity, security, safety for them, their families, their children. And President Trump brings hope to even the darkest of places like New York that have been rampaged with migrant crime, with high taxes, with lawlessness over the past 4 years, in particular because of the Harris-Biden administration's policies. But President Trump is offering to restore the American dream for all Americans, and you heard that resonate in the crowd last night. The energy, the spirit is greater than it's ever been since 2016. We feel it not just in New York, but in Georgia, where we'll be going today, and in every battleground state across the country.
Everyone who knows President Trump says that he's authentic. He is who he is. He's not fake. This is the guy. He delivers on what he says. Then you have his opponent, Kamala Harris, and she could not be farther from that. So she was at a black church in Philadelphia yesterday while he was hosting this big rally at MSG, and she debuted a brand new accent. Take a listen.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
So last week she had a Latina accent when she was speaking to a group of Hispanic voters, and now Brand new accent right there. Do voters see through this?
Absolutely, yes. This was trending on X after this happened yesterday, with people genuinely questioning, what is she doing? What is she saying? Kamala Harris is your textbook phony politician. She goes wherever the political wind blows her. She has no conviction. She doesn't truly understand policy. That's why she can't answer questions on policy. She dodges every question she gets, even from the friendliest of hosts like Anderson Cooper over at CNN. And it's because she doesn't know what she believes. She's catered to the far left her entire career. She is the most radical liberal the Democrat Party has ever had at the top of their ticket, but they've tried to moderate her to get her elected. But that's not truly who she is. At her heart, she's a radical liberal, but she knows she can't be because she will lose the election if her true colors show, which they have. So she's having a really tough time. Unlike President Trump, which is you should, Charla, you don't need to like everything President Trump says to vote for him. You have to know that his policies are going to uplift you, and when he says something, he means it, and he will run through a wall to defend his positions, defend the American people, and to do what he thinks is right for this country.
And hard to believe now we're in the home stretch.
That's right.
8 days to go. I know that he is holding a big rally tonight at Georgia Tech's Arena in downtown Atlanta. What do the next few days look like?
Barnstorming the country. We have Georgia today, North Carolina later this week, Pennsylvania. He'll be hitting back to the West Coast, go to Nevada and Arizona, hitting every single battleground state between now and November 5th, and encouraging people to get out the vote. Early voting is already underway. We're seeing very encouraging signs across the country in these battlegrounds. People are heeding President Trump's call to cast their ballot. So we're encouraging everyone at home, no matter where you live, to get out, to bank your vote for President Trump. This is the most important election in the history of our great country. It is a must-win election.
Trump 2024 National Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt on Newsmax's Wake Up America on very little sleep, as Charla mentioned. I really wanted to play the Hulk Hogan speech for you from yesterday. I mean, at least part of it, right? Of course, the Hulkster had several of his own big victories at the iconic Madison Square Garden over the years. If you didn't see his speech, there are plenty of places where you can go find it and see it. It was awesome, right? Blew the roof off the place, as I mentioned, as you would expect from the Hulkster. But I am going to wrap it up with Saturday's edition of America Right Now and words of encouragement from an actual pastor.
I want to start off with this. It's a stressful time, okay? Many people of faith, they struggle with their decision-making in these contentious elections. What's your advice to them about how to approach this important choice on Election Day?
Well, as you say, it is a stressful time. And I think for Christians, Catholics, and other parts of members of the Christian community, we first need to pray, to calm ourselves, to refocus, to look at what we truly value, and let that be the lens we use for the choice to vote. I urge people to vote. I think it's a responsibility as well as a privilege to help select the leaders of our nation at the very top of an administration and all the leadership. So I would say pray, pause and pray, and then look at the national security needs, just the good of the nation.
Yeah.
Because basically what we're faced with is re-electing the present administration, which in many ways would be even more against life, more anti-Catholic, more anti-faith. So is it re-electing the present administration or choosing a different path? I think we need to pray and then to really look at those values.
Your Excellency, Vice President Harris had a run-in of sorts with a couple of people of faith at a recent rally of hers. Two pro-life student attendees at one of her rallies shouted, "Jesus is Lord and Christ is King." In Wisconsin, this is what she had to say.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
Your Excellency, this is not the party of John F. Kennedy anymore. This is the party of moral relativism and militant secularism and transcultism. Why is it so hard for many Catholic leaders, including the Holy Father, to to be more forceful in sort of calling that out as we get closer to this decision making?
Well, I think there's a lot of fear of being called political, but everything's been politicized, really. And rather than looking to the political world, just start with the values that the gospel of Jesus Christ, that's the platform that we have to operate from. And it's very clear. I mean, we need to pray, but we need to see clearly. We need to open our eyes. And that last clip, you know, how can there be any real other choice? We wish the choice was stronger. We wish that the pro-life stance of either party was better. But I guess my advice is vote. Use your Christian faith as the lens to choose for the best of the nation, for the sanctity of life, for all of our values. And then when hopefully we get the best choice we've got, not perfect, but the best choice we've got, then we have to stay engaged and help the administration to really get this nation back on track. I mean, the world is on a collision course with disaster that is frightening to many.
I said pastor, but that's actually Catholic Bishop Joseph Strickland of Texas on America Right Now, Saturdays at 9 a.m. with Tom Basile. So Donald Trump is in Atlanta tonight, Allentown, Pennsylvania tomorrow, Wisconsin on Wednesday. The vice president and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, in Ann Arbor, Michigan today for a joint rally. The vice president has a huge outdoor event tomorrow in D.C. with the White House in the backdrop of the park. It could be her largest event and largest crowd thus far in her campaign. The current president and first lady traveled back to the White House today from Delaware. President Biden, according to the White House calendar, is focused on hurricane recovery today. He's speaking with officials from several of the impacted states and also thanking the National Guard for its role in hurricane recovery. On Wall Street, stocks started the new week well into the green, thankfully, ahead of a few big economic reports coming out through the week that experts say could impact or affect the Fed's next move on interest rates, which obviously could impact or affect everything. And the World Series continues tonight from Yankee Stadium in New York, a must-win for the Yankees, down 2-0 to L.A. Be sure to keep up with all of the news on Newsmax, Newsmax.com, and make sure you're streaming on Newsmax Plus for the most complete lineup of all of your favorite shows, Newsmax hosts and guests, NewsmaxPlus.com. Rob Schmidt tonight. Greg Kelly reports The Record with Greta Van Susteren, who dare compare Madison Square Garden to Lambeau Field. Carl Higbee, Bianca De La Garza, Chris Salcedo, Ed Henry, Wake Up America, and much, much more, with experts like Mark Halpern, Governor Huckabee, Rick Santorum, General Blaine Holt, Carrie Lake, and many, many others. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Newsmax Daily. Please share it with your friends and family and anyone else. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax.